America is no longer the world's supreme economic power. It is a crisis of leadership that jeopardizes the safety of the free world. Find out how it happened and if we can ever recover. The U.S. economy, threat to global security. The series begins Monday on ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Coming up next on News Center 13, another plea for the release of hostage Terry Anderson. The Ku Klux Klan was on the march in North Carolina. And friends and strangers come out to help a young transplant patient. Join us for those stories and more coming up next on News Center 13.
Sir, have you made a choice? We have here one cola beverage which in the universe of taste virtually eclipses the other cola. You chose Pepsi. How about that? This is a fact which is neither startling nor surprising. It is my theory that the taste of Pepsi is unrivaled. Please, let me get a word in edgewise, if you would, due to the billions and billions of starlight. Would you like to take that with you?
Let your taste decide. Pepsi, America's choice.
Pizza Hut is once again offering jugs. Not just any jug, a very special jug. Not that special. An igloo. Not an igloo, an igloo jug, like this one. Just $1.99 with the purchase of a Pizza Hut pizza to go. Then all summer when you come back to Pizza Hut for a pizza to go, we'll fill your jug with a half gallon of Pepsi Cola absolutely free. Get your jug, your igloo jug, for just $1.99. Then get free fill-ups at Pizza Hut.
Who are you? I'm Louis Ciccone from the Toronto Gazette.
Well, why are you here?
I get visions.
Don't spray that stuff, you do genetic damage. I am a crime reporter.
Seeing Things. Seeing Things, tonight at 11:30 on 13.
From WOKR Rochester, this is News Center 13 with Jane Flasch, meteorologist Glenn Johnson, and Mike Hedeen on sports.
Good evening. Many pleas have been made to gain the release of Americans and other Westerners held hostage in Lebanon, but few have been as touching as a plea made today. Salome Anderson marked her second birthday by appearing in a videotaped appeal on Lebanese television. Her father is American Terry Anderson. The appeal was directed at her father's kidnappers, who took him in 1985 and have held him longer than any other hostage. Anderson's sister Peggy Say of Batavia has made many efforts to gain his freedom. On the eve of the Venice Economic Summit, the subject was Chinese missiles in the Persian Gulf. National Security Advisor Frank Carlucci says Iran has been warned against installing the weapons, and Chief of Staff Howard Baker served notice Iran would run the risk of retaliation if the missiles are deployed. Some of the principal players in the Venice Summit arrived there today. West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl and Canadian's Prime Minister Brian Mulroney will join President Reagan and 4 other leaders to discuss the Gulf and several other issues. ABC's Pierre Salinger has this report on what we can expect from the Bennett Summit this week.
The tranquility of the setting for the Venice Summit belies the deep economic crisis it must address. The fragility of the third world debt situation, the fragility of the U.S. dollar on world monetary markets, the continuing high unemployment throughout Europe, the U.S. trade deficit and budget imbalance, and the Japanese-American trade war are all contributing to this crisis. But Europeans fear the Venice Summit will not address these economic problems effectively. Lord Lever, a former British economics minister and a world expert on the debt crisis, is not optimistic.
I think you'll get limping forward more slowly than should be the case, but it will be in the right direction. It won't be fast enough to avoid unnecessary loss to us all.
2 of the participating countries, Great Britain and Italy, are in the closing days of tough election campaigns. And Japanese Prime Minister Nakasone is expected to leave his post in the next several months. After the Iraqi attack on the U.S. naval ship, the Stark, Europeans also fear President Reagan will attempt to pressure them to contribute military forces to the Persian Gulf region to protect their own oil resources as well as those of the Americans. They are not enthusiastic about the U.S. initiative. An area of agreement may be the subject of the Soviet-U.S. initiative on Euro-missiles. The Europeans are likely to sign off in principle on the elimination of medium-range nuclear weapons in Europe. This is particularly important for British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher in her effort to fight off the Labour Party election proposal to end U.S. military presence in Great Britain. French President Francois Mitterrand will push a plan to cancel government loans to black African countries, permitting their economies to emerge from heavy debt pressure.
Bankers and currency traders will be watching the summit carefully. If it gives the impression of not arriving at important economic accords, the dollar may well start falling again. Others will be watching President Reagan to see how badly his influence has been damaged by the Iran-Contra arms deals. Pierre Salinger, ABC News, Venice.
Here in the U.S. today, the Ku Klux Klan was on the march. The Klan rallied in Greensboro, North Carolina, the site of a Klan Communist Party clash 8 years ago that left 5 people dead. ABC's Al Dale reports.
Came mostly from rural North and South Carolina. Klansmen, Klanswomen, and children in colorful garb, flying the familiar Confederate battle flag. One even donned a bulletproof vest.
I said, you better be safe this morning.
The message was familiar, too.
White supremacy.
It's a message this father passes to his 8-year-old son.
I don't want to marry no nigger. Danny, do you understand what all this is about?
Danny never answered. He was not born yet when the Klan last came to Greensboro. That was in November of 1979, when communist union organizers taunted and dared the Klan to confront them. The Klan did, and in the ensuing gun battle, 5 communists were dead. Virgil Griffin was among 6 Klansmen to go on trial, only to be acquitted.
I don't think about it. That was the past. I'm looking for the future.
The leader of today's march made it clear where he stood on the previous violence.
But when a man stands up and says he's a communist, he's got no business in the United States.
As the march wound through downtown, it passed a symbol of the civil rights movement. The Woolworth store, where a lunch counter sit-in started an important phase of the civil rights movement in 1960. There were several arrests, including a man carrying a rolled-up American flag who tried to break into the march. But most of the opposition stayed away, and those who did line the parade route held signs of brotherhood and peace. The people who live here and dreaded this event can breathe a sigh of relief that no replay of '79 occurred, and the Klan can claim victory for getting to hold its rally, which they hope will translate into new members. Al Dale, ABC News, Greensboro, North Carolina.
The woman whose involvement with Gary Hart led to his political downfall says she now feels hunted. Donna Rice told Life magazine the experience has left her sleepless and suffering crying spells and is making her run up her credit card bill. In an article in People magazine, Rice's former friend Lynn Armont says that Rice did spend the night with Hart in Washington, D.C. Reports about that evening eventually led Hart to pull out of the race for president. Still to come on News Center 13, we'll find out what a local judge has to say about cameras in the courtroom. And we'll see how friends and strangers have rallied together for a local child. Stay with us.
95% of Chevy Nova owners would recommend their new Nova to a friend. If that doesn't mean much to you, think about this. Of the cars you've owned, how many would you recommend to a friend? New Chevy Nova. Reading the list of standard features on a new Chevy Nova can get pretty boring.
Standard.
But don't stop.
Standard.
It gets better at the end.
If your bank isn't nice, this may be your nearest cash machine. Nice, thousands of cash machines shared by hundreds of banks, like Municipal Credit Union.
Hungry for something really different? Try Arby's Philly beef and Swiss, topped with peppers, onions, and melted Swiss cheese, and taste the Arby's difference.
A salute to Broadway. Neil Simon and the stars of Les Miserables and Cats and more perform on Donahue.
Donahue, Monday morning at 9 on 13.
AIDS patients in Rochester will directly benefit from research exchanged at last week's International Conference on AIDS held in Washington, D.C. Local doctors who attended the conference say they've learned strategies to better treat AIDS patients and to better protect themselves from contracting the disease. 25% of 250 doctors at the conference said they are so concerned with catching the disease that if given a choice, they'd refuse to treat AIDS patients.
I think it's understandable that healthcare workers would be concerned. And what it tells us is that we need to continue to educate healthcare workers about what the real risks are and what they can do to protect themselves. And there are things that help.
Dr. Valenti says workers can help protect themselves by wearing rubber gloves when dealing with blood or when giving transfusions. All it will take is a signature from the governor, and cameras will begin shooting in New York courts. The state assembly and Senate have already passed a bill that would allow cameras to record what goes on in the courtroom for an 18-month trial period. 29 states, including California, already have a similar law on their books. In our News Plus segment earlier today, City Court Judge William Bristol said the law will make the courts more accountable to the public. But he said the law also has built-in safeguards that will help protect witnesses and defendants.
And so in the last analysis, it'll be the judge's job to make sure that cameras and microphones don't intrude and intimidate witnesses in any way, shape, or form. Also, I think you'll see that judges have the discretion to wisely keep out cameras when there are extremely sensitive issues, such as charges and trials involving children who it's alleged have been victims of sexual abuse.
Now, if the bill is signed by the governor, cameras will show up in New York courts beginning December 1st. At Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh, 3.5-year-old Jessica Thomas, the county's youngest heart and lung transplant recipient, is recuperating from complications. She is in critical but stable condition. Her friends in Batavia are doing all they can to support her. They've organized a music festival complete with 22 bands to help raise money for hospital expenses. Many of those donating time say they've never even met Jessica.
We don't really know her, but everyone that has kids can feel for this little girl and her family.
They asked if we'd like to come participate there and help out, so it was a worthwhile effort, so we came.
The event ended at 10 o'clock this evening. Organizers were hoping to raise $100,000. A local center that played a part in raising thousands of children celebrated an anniversary today. The Hillside Children's Center has been taking care of orphan children and children with special needs for 150 years. Now, many of those who spent time at the facility returned to celebrate today for an alumni reunion. Over 2,000 children still find shelter at the center each year. When we come back, meteorologist Glenn Johnson will answer the question, will we get rain again tomorrow? And coming up later, Mike Hedeen will report on a tough day for Kathy Morris. Stay with us.
Drove into the bucket.
A new bride sues a wedding caterer.
So certainly everyone had something, but our main food item, which was turkey with some cranberry sauce, we also had some brie cheese that ran out. Our punch ran out completely, and our dip for the vegetable platter also ran out.
The caterer says there was plenty of food.
They had 5,000 pieces of food, over 5,000, which is 8.4 pieces per hour.
On the People's Court.
The People's Court, Monday at 5:30 on 13.
Rochester, there's a new champ in town, the Olds Rocket Team's Delta 88, America's best-selling full-sized car, outselling all competitors, including Chevrolet Caprice. It's the family car that didn't forget the family, with traditional full-size room and comfort inside, and lots of space in the trunk. The Olds Rocket Team didn't forget to give you value. Every Delta 88 is now sale price with terrific summer discounts, but you'd better hurry for the best selection. Best sellers sell fast.
We're your Olds Rocket Team dealers.
On the next taxi, Cupid puts a stranglehold on Tony with a girlfriend he can't get rid of.
Well, I'm never going to let you go.
And Louie makes things worse.
Hi, Tony.
When he hires her as a cabbie, until the gang comes up with a plan to save Tony.
He's in love with someone else. Who? Him.
Using Louie on Taxi.
Say hello to the Sunshine Cab Company, Monday night at 7:30 on 13.
Hi. This is a public service announcement from the New York State Division of Substance Abuse. And we're Whodini. And we want you to know that children of America, our future and hope, but not the future of America's going up in smoke because somebody thought that it was all right to tamper and play with a human life. I wonder what type of person would do something like that to develop such a drug as dangerous as crack. Don't do it. In other words, leave that crack alone.
Meteorologist Glenn Johnson is in a lot of calls tonight. A colorful sky out there.
Most definitely. A colorful radar, too. The radar time-lapse was really busy today. We had a lot of severe weather moving through. Frequent lightning strikes at times, heavy downpours. Some locations you got nothing at all. Other locations got quite a bit of rain, so it was kind of a topsy-turvy night. Let's take a look at that radar time-lapse. We'll show you how it was developing through the evening. You can see this is about 7 o'clock. We were pretty well enveloped with showers and thunder showers. Again, we talked about the frequent lightning. Really down to the south and through most of Monroe County. You can see it pushing to the southeast at about 50 miles per hour. They just continue to move on through the Monroe County area. Now we go in for a closer look, and we're going to show you some closer scenes on the 50 nautical mile range. It just continues to come on through. Right off of Lake Ontario, you can see some of these heavier thunder showers moving through. Again, a lot of it ended, though, rather quickly later on in the evening. A live Rochester radar right now. Not much to really show you. We're going to take the wider view, and you can see this is just ground clutter. Most of the heavier showers and thunder showers now are well down to the south and out to the east and through Syracuse and Watertown getting a big thunderstorm right now, but that is continuing out that way. So we have just about ended with the rain showers for tonight, but they could once again redevelop by tomorrow. Let's take a look at the almanac and our numbers for today. The high temperature was 74 degrees. The low was 51 earlier this morning, and you can see that's just about where we should be for this time of the year. Out at the airport, a little bit earlier, they were reporting a thunder shower, temperature 66 degrees, relative humidity very high at about 90%, so we're going to see some patchy fog around the region. Winds continue out of a southerly direction, and our pressure is falling. Around western New York right now, we have a variety of temperatures. Warmer air approaching down from the south. We've had a warm front pushing through, and that's really the good reason why we had a lot of those showers and thunder showers. 72 degrees down at Jamestown, 74, the warm spot over at Niagara Falls. But looking out to the east, a little bit cooler, 59 in Albany. 55 degrees over at Ottawa. Those folks will see some of the warmer weather, but probably not into tomorrow. The satellite picture right now once again tells a story as far as our weather is concerned. You can see all the clouds encompassing much of western New York. The enhancement shows a lot of those heavier showers and thunder showers. It looks like a lot of these clouds, unfortunately, will hang on into tomorrow. We'll see a little bit of sun from time to time, but it looks like more showers and more rain will be developing out through the Great Lakes. They have big thunderstorms right now in through the UP of Michigan. Let's go to the national view. Take a look around the country, and you can see some of those big thunderstorms. Cold front right into the midsection of the country. Some of those big thunderstorms continuing in through Montana, but a good section of the midsection of the country, I should say. Very clear and very nice weather. They had a beautiful weekend down to the south. Let's go to the national view right now. You can see this cold front out to the west, low pressure in through the Great Lakes. That is what is heading our way. Here's the warm front that was stretching through western New York right now. That's the one that gave us the showers and all that warm air down from the south. That will be with us tomorrow. Temperatures well into the 70s, and it's still going to feel kind of sticky out there. By tomorrow afternoon, you can see what's developing, that low pressure just to our north, and still we have that warm, humid air right in through western New York. By the afternoon, the approach of this cold front could bring some big thunder showers. Looks like rain showers continuing into tomorrow evening before this big high moves in, and with that will bring much cooler weather. By Tuesday, temperatures will only be down in the 60s. We did have a small craft advisory in effect later this evening. It probably was canceled. Water temperature 62 degrees, wave heights 2 to 4 feet, and the winds out of the west tomorrow at about 10 to 20 knots. For tonight, though, any of those rain showers and thunder showers will be ending. Temperatures tonight down into the 60s. And then for tomorrow, we begin the week much as we ended much of the weekend, really. A lot of clouds, a few scattered showers and thunder showers, nothing all that heavy, at least for the beginning of the morning. Kind of muggy temperatures by the afternoon, about 75 degrees. For Monday night, we continue with a few scattered showers, temperatures down into the 50s. For Tuesday, looks like clearing skies. It'll be turning nice but cool temperatures, only about 65 degrees. The nice weather, the nice dry weather is on the way.
Okay, thanks, Glenn.
Sure.
Moving over to sports, NBA.
NBA, Celtics remain alive and back in the thick of the championship series, and the Red Wings look to be back on track after winning their 4th out of the last 5 games. The sports is next on News Center 13.
Why is Ford the only major automaker increasing sales in the Rochester 4-county area? Because as import prices continue to climb, the base price of the award-winning Taurus remains an earthly $10,650, and your Ford team can save you hundreds more on the options you want. Plus, the Japanese can't match Ford's 6-year, 100,000-mile corrosion warranty. Why should you buy a Ford now? Because the Japanese don't make a car like Taurus. See your Ford team today. Quality people, quality products.
There are routines, and then there are routines.
I was going to be Diana Ross.
But there's nothing routine about the laughter,
I love him so.
the music, the magic, and the merriment you share with Nell and the girls. Laugh along with America's favorite family comedy.
Give me a break.
Join us for all the fun and laughter on Gimme A Break, weeknights at 7 here on 13.
It's been a long day at the office, but being a professional doesn't have to mean all work and no play. Call the Volunteer Connection. Make your time off pay off for you and someone who needs you. Call the Volunteer Connection, 454-1100.
Time for sports, and the Red Wings trying to squeeze their game in between the raindrops
and they
today.
got it in before the big downpours
Just made
came,
it.
and just in time because the other team started to rally, so Wings kind of back on a roll after having a terrible couple of weeks earlier. That's all right. Okay, the Red Wings seem to have gotten back on track. They had things going in reverse the past couple of weeks, but at the end of their swing through Ohio last week and the opening of the current homestand, things are looking brighter. Today they won their second in a row and their fourth out of their last 5. To Silver Stadium, we pick it up where they were trailing Pawtucket 2-1 in the second inning before Carl Nichols blasted his 6th home run of the season. It was a 2-run shot that put Rochester up 3-2. The Paw Sox, though, came back in the top half of the third. John Marzano with a blooper to shallow center field that dropped for a base hit. Sam Horn scored, and it was a 4-3 lead for Pawtucket. But in the fourth, Rex Hudler hit a ground ball that went under the glove of Jody Reed at short. That scored Nelson Simmons for 5-4 Wings lead, and the Wings went on to win it 8-5 in a rain-shortened game called after 7 innings. The main guides will be here for 4 games, and that begins tomorrow night. Checking the other IL games, it was Tidewater beating Columbus 7-3, so the Wings moved to within 2 games of the league-leading Clippers. It took 10 innings before Toledo beat Richmond 7-6, and Syracuse shut out Maine 3-0. National League, the first of 2 at Shea, tied at 3 in the top of the 10th. Pittsburgh's Andy Van Slyke with a blast that sails over the right field wall. The solo shot gave the Pirates a 4-3 lead. But in the bottom half, the Mets' Lee Mazzilli got his 1,000th career base hit. It couldn't have come at a better time as Barry Lyons scored the tying run. Darryl Strawberry came across with what turned out to be the game-winning run. And in the 10th inning, it was 5-4. The Mets win it 10, and Pittsburgh, though, outslugged them in the nightcap by the score of 10-9. Around the rest of the league, 13-9 for St. Louis over the Cubs as the Cardinals move 1 game up now, farther up on the Chicago in the East Division. It was Los Angeles 13, Cincinnati 7. Philadelphia shut out trim Montreal. It was 3-1. The next game, the shutout for Houston, 3-0. And Atlanta came from an 11-2 deficit to beat San Diego 13-12. On the American League board, it was Toronto by a run over Baltimore. Milwaukee loses, so the Yankees, with the win over Milwaukee, remain a half game up on the Blue Jays. Kansas City 9-1 over Seattle. Minnesota kept pace with a 7-4 win against Texas. Cleveland by 10 over Oakland. Chicago blanked California, and it was Detroit a 10-run win over Boston. In Omaha, the finals of the College World Series between Stanford and Oklahoma State tied at 2 in the fourth when Brad Beanblossom gets his 2nd home run of the series. This was a solo shot to left. The Cowboys from Okie State had a 3-2 lead. But with 2 out in the Stanford half of the 5th, David Esker lays down a nice bunt. Robin Ventura's throw to first is too late. Ron Whitmire scores for a 6-3 Cardinal lead, and Stanford went on to win it 9-5 for their first ever College World Series championship. What a weekend this was shaping up to be for Pittsford native Kathy Morris. After 3 rounds of the LPGA McDonald's Classic, Kathy was at the top of the leaderboard each round, but it was a struggle today as she tried for just her 2nd title in 9 years on the tour. As Kathy cooled down, Betsy King was heating up. On 16, her 2nd birdie on the back 9 gave her the lead at 5 under par, 2 shots ahead of Kathy Morris. Then on 18, Betsy playing 1 group ahead of Kathy. King wrapped up the title by drilling another birdie putt. She finished the tournament with a round of 67, 6 under par for 4 rounds. Morris on the last hole, she was the last player to finish up. This was the kind of day, a disappointing round. She misses the par putt there. She took the bogey to finish with the final round of 3 over 74. So the final round of 67 for Betsy King gives her the win by 2 shots over Ayaka Okamoto. Allison Finney and Lisa Young were at 3 under par. Kathy Morris finishes at 2 under. Tom Kite won the PGA Kemper Open outside Washington, D.C. by 7 shots over Chris Perry and Howard Twitty. Facing a must-win situation, or face a possible sweep. The Boston Celtics returned home for Game 3 of their championship series with the Lakers and answered the call, but it didn't look as if it would happen in the early going. The Lakers were playing their game in the opening quarter. They get it into Magic Johnson, who hits the hook shot, and the 9-point lead, but Boston led it by 4 at the half. Second half, though, was all Celtics. Danny Ainge finds a streaking Larry Bird. Bird hits 2 of his game-high 30 points. It's a 10-point Boston lead. Dennis Johnson, who struggled in the 2 games in L.A., caught fire today. The 3-pointer right here for a 12-point Boston lead. DJ finished with 26. The Celtics finished up with a 6-point win to cut the Lakers' lead in the series to 2-1 with Game 4 Tuesday back in Boston. Yvonne Lendl successfully defended his French Open singles title today, but he received a challenge from Mats Wilander before winning it in 4 sets, 7-5, 6-2, 3-6, and 7-6. At Finger Lakes this afternoon, it was the running of the George W. Barker Stakes. The first half, it was the 6 Comic Flair coming along the outside to grab the lead. Then he had to hold on to win it over Talca Power, the 2-horse. The second half was won by Killer Joe with Columbia Gold, finishing second. So horse racing, stakes race down at Finger Lakes this afternoon, kind of a follow-up to yesterday's Belmont Stakes.
Okay, there was an unusual race going on in Hong Kong today.
What kind of a race?
We'll tell you about it when we come back.
If love was money, I'd be broke. That's the funny thing about love. You never know how it's going to turn out. Sometimes you strike it rich, and other times you strike out. Yeah, love sure is unpredictable, but that's what keeps it interesting. I guess the most important thing is to have fun and keep on trying, just like they do on Love Connection.
The Love Connection, weekdays at 4 on WOKR 13.
The Vanderstyne Report, brought to you by Vanderstyne Ford. For 70 years, Ford Motor Company has produced the best pickup trucks in the industry. June is Truck Month at Vanderstyne Ford, which means big savings on our full line of tough Ford trucks. Trucks that can climb mountains, trucks that can hold up to tough work. Come see the best-built American trucks 6 years running and save during Truck Month at Vanderstyne Ford. Vanderstyne Ford, 4545 Ridge Road West.
When the Donahue show began in 1967, we inherited a studio audience from the variety show that we replaced. And I noticed during the commercials they were asking some very good questions. It must have been the 3rd or 4th show I just got up and walked out into the audience, and it happened almost by accident. And we realize now that without the studio audience, there would be no Donahue show.
Donahue, weekday mornings at 9 on 13.
In the year 1985, in the state of Louisiana, in the town of New Orleans, a 65-year-old man who had never read a book in his life learned how to read.
Ask, and it will be given you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it will be open to you.
It's never too late to learn to read. Call Plus.
A look at tomorrow's weather, and our rain is not quite over yet.
Well, it's over for tonight anyway. It looks like most of the rain showers have ended. Let's take a quick look at our Rochester radar. As we showed you earlier, most of the showers have ended, mainly out to the east. For tomorrow, we're just going to continue with a few clouds, a couple of showers, kind of warm and muggy, temperatures in the 70s.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Finally, tonight in the United States, there are foot races, horse races, and for the more adventurous, even dog sled races. But natives in Hong Kong say their claim to fame is dragon racing. For 400 years, Orientals have competed in the event. It's really a rowing event. Each 37-foot boat is decorated with a dragon's head and tail to commemorate an old Chinese legend. This year, there was a surprise team in the winner's circle. A boat sponsored by a group of Chicago canoeists took 4th place in the event today. Looked like they were really working there. They didn't say how long the rowing was, but that's a difficult sport.
Yeah, it looked like, especially when you get like, what, 9 or 10
And you'll have to row and sink, right? That is our light report for this evening. Thank you for joining us. Seeing Things is up next. We'll see you next weekend.
Looking beyond the headlines. That's what television journalism is all about. Recently, developers of the Hyatt Regency downtown announced they had fired their contractor, blaming Turner Construction for delays. We reported that, but also looked at the impact of delays on conventions already booked for the Flower City. We also told you about an outbreak of food poisoning at a local restaurant. Again, going beyond the headlines to show you how health officials investigate to find the cause. News Center 13. The more you watch, the more you understand.
It was just a party. Everybody was having a really good time, celebrating the school was out. I remember that somebody showed up with some beer and wine. It seemed like a cool thing to do.
I know Steve had been drinking, but he seemed okay when he left.
Can't believe he never made it home.
Every year, too many young adults stop drinking and driving the hard way. Don't drink and drive, and don't ride with anyone who does.
This is Camp Open Arms. What does this day camp mean to kids who have cancer?
Dancing. Basketball. Lots of friends. No hospitals.
10 days to act like a child.
Camp Open Arms. Call, help, volunteer. Help a kid be a child this year. A program of the United Cancer Council.
The Judge, weekday mornings at 10:30 on 13.